Most deaths have an explanation, an accident, an illness, a crime, but sometimes people leave this world under circumstances so bizarre, so unexplainable, that they seem pulled straight from the pages of a horror novel. In today's video, we're diving into 3 real-life cases of strange and unusual deaths. Stories so chilling, they'll leave you questioning what you thought you knew about life and death. From the deep forest of the UK to a shocking case involving negligent maintenance of equipment used by the public, each of these incidents is as eerie as it is unsettling. Story 1. Richard Sumner was born in 1955 and lived in Crosby, a coastal town in the metropolitan borough of Sefton, Merseyside, England. He was a talented artist best known for his art direction and designs for opera productions at Glyndebourne, an opera house in East Sussex, just 1 hour from London, which has been the venue for the annual Glyndebourne Festival since 1934. He was a talented man, but also very troubled. In 1984, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and his health began to deteriorate. It is reported that he tried to end his time on Earth a few times. According to his sister, the attempts were always unsuccessful because he would change his mind at the last minute. He was an intelligent man that felt frustrated by his illness and had reportedly said that he did not wish to be a, quote, parasite. Sadly, in 2002, at the age of 47, Richard went missing and all attempts to locate him failed. Then in 2005, in a remote section of Clocanog Forest, Denbighshire, a woman became lost while walking her dog. She stumbled onto a very frightening sight, the skeleton of Richard Sumner. His remains were still attached to a tree with one arm shackled to it with handcuffs. The key to those cuffs appeared thrown deliberately out of his reach. The pathologist would go on to report that the position of the cuffs and markings on the tree indicated that Richard possibly changed his mind and tried to break free, but could not do so in time. According to Richard's sister Patricia, she believes he went to such a remote location in the hope that his remains would never be found as a way to not upset his loved ones any further. This is such a tragic story that such a talented, intelligent man was so tormented by his own demons of mental illness that he would go to such great lengths to end his time on this earth. Story 2. It was 9:30 in the morning on August 16, 2003, when Dr. Hitoshi Nikaidoh, 35 of Dallas, a surgical resident, stepped up to the second-floor elevator at Christus St. Joseph Hospital in Houston, Texas. This was a typical day for the doctor, and waiting for the elevator was certainly a part of his daily life, working at the hospital. But today would be very, very different. There had been some problems with this particular elevator in the past week, and maintenance crews had been trying to service them. Today, the elevator was up and running normally, or so it seemed. Dr. Nikaidoh stepped onto the elevator when the doors closed, pinning his shoulders. The elevator car then moved upward, severing the doctor's head. Unable to wrench himself free, Nikaidoh was decapitated just above the lower jaw as the elevator made its methodical, horrifying ascent. His corpse, along with several belongings, fell to the bottom of the elevator shaft. His severed head fell into the elevator with Karen Steinow, a physician's assistant and co-worker of the doctor. He tried to pull back and he couldn't. Steinow had stated. The doors wouldn't open. Steinow was stuck in elevator 14 with her colleague's unblinking remains for over an hour. The scene erupted in chaos when police and firefighters arrived. Medical personnel were in disbelief. Some were crying and some were in shock. They were all trying to console one another in the face of such a horrific accident. Needless to say, the incident with Hitoshi Nikaidoh should never have happened. Sensors in elevator doors are designed to make sure the panels will not try to clamp shut if a body or object is blocking their path from closing completely. On top of that, Additional safety backups are utilized to ensure that elevators will not climb or descend if they are still partially open. There are safeguards in place to prevent exactly the sort of occurrence which claimed Nikaidoh's life. What went wrong in this elevator? The answer seems horrifyingly trivial: a single extra wire. Had elevator 14 been configured properly, one wire, not two, would have been connected to one of the many controller studs in the elevator control system. The empty space would have allowed the sensors to function properly, and Nikaidoh would have been released with no harm inflicted. But the empty space was filled by a wire that shouldn't have been there. The misplaced wire may have been the predominant cause of Nikaidoh's death, but alarmingly, it turned out to be only one of numerous examples of negligent maintenance work on this particular elevator. During an investigation, no fewer than 22 code violations were found. Resistors had been burned. Connections which should have been closed were left open. A generator guard was missing entirely. The elevator was also a solid month past its yearly inspection date. According to the Reef Law Firm's website, Attorney Howard Nations represented the Nikaidoh family in a lawsuit filed against Otis Elevator Company and Cone after the young doctor's death. In the course of testing and retesting the elevator, the maintenance company had changed wiring, Nations said, and when they rewired it back to its original position, they forgot to put this wire back where it goes. Medical reports stated that the cause of death was multiple blunt force injuries to Nikaidoh's head and body. It is an unexpected and tragic loss, said Dr. Hitoshi Nikaidoh, Hitoshi's father. He is an outgoing and very caring person. Story 3. On the evening of August 28, 2004, in Marietta, Georgia, 23-year-old Frankie Brohm and his longtime friend, 21-year-old John Kemper Hutcherson, decided to spend their Saturday night at a local bar. The two had been close since their days at Pope High School, sharing numerous memories and a deep bond. That night, as they enjoyed drinks and reminisced, the atmosphere was typical of young friends unwinding over the weekend. As the night progressed, Brohm began to feel unwell, prompting the duo to leave the bar in Hutcherson's 1992 Chevrolet Z71 pickup truck. Brohm occupied the passenger seat, and in an attempt to alleviate his nausea, he leaned his head out of the window. Unbeknownst to them, this seemingly innocuous action would lead to a tragic sequence of events. Shortly after departing, less than 2 miles from the bar, Hutcherson veered off the road. The truck traveled approximately 10 feet off the pavement, striking a telephone pole's support wire. The impact was catastrophic. The wire decapitated Brohm, severing his head from his body. In a state of apparent shock or unawareness, Hutcherson continued driving for about 12 miles to his home. Upon arrival, he parked the truck, with Brohm's headless body still inside, and went to bed, his clothes stained with blood. The following morning, a neighbor out for a walk with his baby daughter noticed the gruesome scene and alerted authorities. Police arrived to find Brohm's decapitated body in the passenger seat and later discovered his head near the accident site. Hutcherson was found asleep inside his home, still wearing his bloodied clothes and exhibiting signs of inebriation. He appeared remorseful upon awakening and was promptly taken into custody. Investigations revealed that both men had been drinking heavily that night. Hutcherson's blood alcohol level was estimated to be over 0.22, more than twice the legal limit in Georgia. He was subsequently charged with first-degree vehicular homicide, driving under the influence, failure to stop at an accident with death or injury, and failure to maintain lanes. Initially, his bond was set at $10,000, but was later increased to $100,000 during a court hearing. In a remarkable display of compassion, the Brohm family, despite their profound grief, advocated for Hutcherson's release on bond. They recognized the deep friendship between the two men and believed that Hutcherson needed support to rebuild his life. Their attorney conveyed the family's position, emphasizing their desire for Hutcherson to receive necessary treatment and move forward. In May 2005, Hutcherson pleaded guilty to the charges stemming from the incident. Taking into account the circumstances and the Brohm family's plea for leniency, the court sentenced him to 5 years in prison. This sentence underscored the severity of the offense while acknowledging the unique aspects of the case, including the victim's family's forgiveness and the enduring impact on both families. The tragic death of Frankie Brohm reminds us of the dangers of impaired driving and the unforeseen consequences that can arise from seemingly minor actions. It is also quite remarkable the compassion shown to Hutcherson by Frankie's family, even in the face of such a tragic situation and untimely death. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more mysterious content like this and more, then please subscribe to my channel, The Midnight Files. I have plenty of videos for you to binge now and many more to come in the future. Until next time, please stay safe out there and as always, stay curious.